thank you for being here. It's tremendous to be back at the ranch. I haven't been here for 7 years. And the number 7 will come up in my presentation, as well as Vishnu. James mentioned earlier, you'll see a lot of references to Vishnu for special reasons. We'll see Vishnu information in this presentation as well. I'm well known internationally, particularly in the world of radio, as an authority on the subject of messages hidden backwards in human speech. And this is a topic that was popularized on the Coast to Coast radio show in the mid to late 90s. An Australian researcher named David Oates had really broken the ground in terms of demonstrating that this procedure of reversing speech recordings could reveal the unconscious secrets of the speaker. Although we can note that since the age of audio recording and audio editing, that anybody who had the ability to reverse a tape reel while using the playback head would be able to hear and detect sounds, speech sounds. But in terms of developing a school of thought that had applications in communication sciences and therapeutic sciences, it was really David Oates who pioneered that arena. And I trained with David Oates in North County, San Diego in the late 90s. So my practice was founded by going to the origin of this field. But I had a very deep and rich background, not only in communications. I had over 20 years of experience in the world of music. I was able to perform with many leading people in the world of jazz, and was written up in national newspapers in Canada for my performances at a very young age. So I was someone who was very focused on sound and aesthetics of sound and musical science and art before I entered this field. I also have a very deep and rich background in the field of yoga, and particularly meditation. It's something that I'd studied, again, for over 20 years and trained with monks in that field. And so I have a broad range of experience with all of the phenomena of yoga and meditation, including Kundalini and ascended states of consciousness. I brought all of that to this field because I recognized the pragmatic and empirical nature of these speech studies and their ability to penetrate into contemporary mysteries, not only about the world situation that we're in now and society, but also people's need and desire for growth and change within themselves and transformational growth. I saw this as a procedure that could assist people in that way, in a very powerful way and a very immediate way, to serve a need in society. And so I was inspired when I heard about Oates' research in the field of reverse speech, and I decided to take it as a course of study. So let me ask you, if we think about this subject about reversing audio recordings, and what reference points do we really have in culture and history? There's an animal that navigates the seas, navigates the oceans, and it has a name that sounds like ghost or spy. And it's the spookfish. And this was written up recently in some scientific articles, because the spookfish is a specialty in that it uses a mirror to focus an image on its cornea. So in place of a lens, it's a unique animal that has a mirror that it builds out of proteins in its eye to focus an image. And so it uses that image to navigate the oceans. It's a mirror using fish. It's an early adapter of mirror technology. Fish evolution started about 500 million years ago, so we can imagine that for tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of years, a fish has been navigating the ocean with the aid of a mirror. The ocean itself, of course, is made out of water, and in a 5-element world of earth, water, fire, air, and ether, we can see that the quality of reflection is a water principle. It's a quality possessed by water. And so we think about which element could be most closely associated with the study of reflections, the study of a reflective surface. We know that a fish is using a mirror, and that fish lives in the ocean, the watery ocean. So it's a water element type of a study. Reflection is something that's fascinated people. People have used reflection for mystical insight for millennia. The ancient Greeks would look for mystical knowledge and reflections on water. Nostradamus used a bowl of water and the reflective surface of that water to gain what many people regard as penetrating insights into future events. The mirror appears in Taoism. It appears in Tantra as an instrument of insight and knowledge. And so we could say that this application of mirroring is like late 20th century mirror gazing. We're looking at reflections. Specifically, we're examining the reflections of the speech signal to detect unconscious information hidden within the voice of that speaker. So you might wonder, well, what does it sound like when we play the speech signal in reverse? So let me just get out of this application and let's load up some audio. This is the view that I'm working within when I'm conducting this procedure. I'm using an audio editing tool, and it displays the signal in a graphical format. So for those of you who aren't familiar with how digital audio works, the computer is sampling the natural sound of the voice, and it's creating a representative graph on the screen. And when I create this manipulation, when I reverse the signal, what I'm really doing is I'm just converting the graph. I'm using a transform filter, a reverse filter, to transform the graph. And we can see it's now reversed visually. We've reversed the graph, the chart is reversed. And then I'm asking the computer to now play that audio, use those data points to create sounds. So it's really a simulation. In fact, it's like virtual backward speech. It's not as if the person was actually talking backwards. It's really just the computer simulating the sound of someone talking backwards. So I'm saying people aren't talking backwards, but are they talking backwards? Well, let's listen to some of these sounds and see if we can detect what we think, our actual speech sounds. And this is kind of exciting because I just slipped up there. Just a second while I convert this over. So what we're going to listen to in this recording is this is a telephone recording, and most of my work, in my clinical work, is done by telephone. And what you're going to hear, this was a caller to a radio show, and she has her 23-month-old child on the phone. And we're talking, and the baby's babbling in the background. So listen to those sounds and see what we can hear.
Talking, it's a laughter yourself.
Okay, so I'm going to take an excerpt from that child's speech, and I'm going to reverse that, and I'll show you which segment I was working with. It's here. And let's play that forwards. Okay, so it's unintelligible sound. The baby's vocalizing, but are they really speaking? Particularly, are they speaking backwards? Well, when I play that segment in reverse, I can hear that child say the words, "I spank him." Like I said before, it's really just a computer simulation. But is that child speaking backwards? Are people really speaking backwards? The child's pre-verbal, and yet it appears the mind is already engaged in speech, in intelligible speech. And we know that one day that child will be able to formulate speech that will recognize forwards. But right now, we can observe that in defiance of the arrow of time, that child is performing a cognitive function where they're actually formulating and delivering or transmitting speech in reverse. So again, if people are interested in child psychology, developmental psychology of children, working with children in any therapeutic model, this procedure can assist in identifying core issues that children are facing, and you can hear them describe those issues in their own voice.